Good evening, everyone. Today is Wednesday, September the 18th of 2024. This is Councilor's regularly scheduled regular meeting. Starting off, I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional lands of Wet'suwet'en First Nation, part of Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Could we all rise for the singing of O Canada? O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all us command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free, from far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Thank you very much, everybody. Before I get started, last council meeting we had, some people that were sitting in the gallery were not aware that we have a public comment session, and they had no idea on how to sign up. Just remember that the sign-up sheet is just outside the door. We allow up to five people and 3 minutes each. This is a question to council, and questions be, if you have any direct questions that you want answered, we will not be answering them. We will answer them if there's direct correspondence to us. And remember, this is on a trial basis for this council, and please put your name so we'll have the list of citizens who would like to speak. Just remember, five citizens, maximum 3 minutes, 15 minutes total. Thank you very much. Item number 4, approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda as circulated? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as circulated. Moved by Councillor Patty Durkee. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion to approve the agenda as circulated. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 5, if there's any declarations of conflict of interest, please notify me and I'll make sure that your name is recorded in the meeting minutes. Item number 6, approval of the minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes in there. It's been in your package. What is council's pleasure? Councillor Daniel Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from August 7th, 2024 regular council, August 7th, 2024 public hearing CDDI bylaw, and August 7th, 2024 public hearing Port Maitland fog alarm building.
Okay, motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item number 7, old business, the Rotary Center Tender Award. Madam CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in your package this evening, Council is a request for decision prepared by Danny Jackson, Capital Projects Coordinator and Asset Manager. He's going to speak to the request for decision to you tonight.
Welcome, Mr. Jackson. Please just hit the red button on your microphone assembly and I'll turn you on. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Madam CEO, Council, staff and guests. This is a request for a decision to approve the tender ID Rotary Centre accessibility upgrades. with the background in the approved 2024 and 2025 capital investment plan, the council directed staff for the renovation of the Rotary Centre to be compliant with accessibility standards. The council allotted a total of $1,450,000 for both buildings. This mandated Accessibility Act, Bill 59 from the province, 2017, accessibility audit for the municipal building and the Rotary Centre conducted in 2022, a MODI accessibility plan completed in 2022. The council allotted funding in the 2024-2025 capital investment plan of $150,000 for the Rotary Centre. And MODI has secured $100,000 in federal funding to offset the costs. MODI has also received the Sustainable Service Growth Fund of $601,741, which can also be used for accessibility projects. MODI has also applied for additional grant with the Enabling Accessibility Fund for $125,000, which is currently under review and in progress. The cost estimates for the Rotary Centre was $456,588. The administration building was $574,785, for a total of $1,031,373. Consultants Venting Group was retained by MODI for engineering design and tender preparation services. The tender for the scope of work was issued on August the 15th, 2024 with 3 addendums and closed on September the 12th, 2024. 2 contracting companies submitted their bids as follows. Bid number 1 was Delmar Construction Limited with a price of $439,967 plus HST. And the second bid was Gowrian Construction Limited of $494,970 plus HST. All firms have been confirmed to be qualified and able to fulfill the tender requirements. The status, as per review, both bids were compliant, with one bid being lower than the class estimate of $456,588, and one bid being higher. Based on the analysis, it is recommended the awarding of the tender ID Rotary Centre accessibility upgrades to the lowest compliant bidder, Delmar Construction Limited, for the amount of $439,967 plus HST.
Thank you very much, Danny. Councillor Sherry Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will make the motion, whereas the municipality of Yarmouth has provisioned a total of $1,450,000 for the accessibility renovations of 2 of our buildings, and whereas Bill 59, the Accessibility Act, requires prescribed public sector bodies to bring their building to meet accessibility standard as per the Act, and whereas the Council for the District of Yarmouth is committed to providing safe, equitable access to services, and whereas the Council for the District of Yarmouth has received and accepted the accessibility audit for the administration and Rotary buildings endorsed by the Accessibility Advisory Committee, and whereas the municipality of the District of Yarmouth seeks to secure additional funding under their Enabling Accessibility Fund for $125,000, therefore be it resolved that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth accept the bid of Delmar Construction Limited in the amount of $439,967 plus HST for the Rotary Centre Accessibility Upgrades tender, and further direct the CAO to negotiate the construction contract accordingly.
Motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on that motion? Councillor Hurlbert, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say thank you to staff for the hard work that they've done on this, and I will be sad to not see this come to fruition as a sitting member of council, but I am ecstatic to know that this is moving forward and will be done sooner rather than later. And it's one of those things that in the 4 years, I wasn't quite sure if we'd get this close, and we're closer than we were 4 years ago. And it's good to know that we are moving forward with accessibility, whether the government has, the provincial government has prescribed it or not. It's something that we know we need to do, and look forward to those renovations and the grand reopening when that does happen eventually, and looking forward to watching from the sidelines to see what happens with this building once that's done too. So thank you.
Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 8.1, recommendations from the Committee of the Whole. Item 8.1.1, Yarmouth Curling Club. Councillor Nick Hilton declared a conflict, so please note that in the minutes. Deputy Warden.
Yeah, I'll move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth grant the request from the Yarmouth Curling Club for $300,000 over 3 years, so it's $100,000 per year, along with a letter of support for the project. And obviously everybody was here for the Committee of the Whole, and they gave an excellent presentation, and that will really go a long way to securing the curling club, moving forward. I apologize. Maybe I said golf and country club, but I meant to say Yarmouth Curling Club if I did make an error. I think maybe I did. So, but in any event, the dollars are to cost share with other municipalities and so forth, in the feds and province, and some fundraising, and that'll make that a going concern for the foreseeable future. So it's a great project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You made the motion, correct? I didn't get a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Patty Durkee. Discussion? Councillor Daniel Alley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, again, I do see this as a request from the Yarmouth Curling Club, but I thought, wasn't presentation from kind of both? I want to make sure we're putting the money, we're going to spend the money where it's supposed to go, not just to the Yarmouth Curling Club, but the Golf and Country Club as well. But, okay.
So it's my understanding it's the same legal entity that governs both, and the proposal does specify the spaces that will receive specific improvements.
Okay, so my only other concern is I see we're about to give $300,000 over 3 years, which is $100,000 a year. Are we going to put anything in there to make sure that we're not the only ones contributing? I've always kind of felt that the application was going out to 2 other partners in the province, and Deputy Cunningham, when he made the motion, kind of alluded to the fact that, we're supposed to be partnering with the other 2 municipalities and the feds in the province to try and get this project, which I think is a great project, is to try and get it done. I just, I don't want to be the only one putting our money in. So I'm not sure how to make sure that that happens.
You can easily make an amendment to the motion to say exactly what you just said in regards to provided that the other 2 municipal partners contribute whatever you think. So that can be done either now, or that can be done after the other councillors get to speak, or before I call the question on the motion that's currently on the floor.
Well, I'm gonna give the other councillors a chance to speak, and then I'll decide on how I want to continue.
All right, thank you. Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
Mr. Chair, I understand where the concern's coming from, but having said that, we are in receipt of a document saying that, and there won't be a project if the project, the funds are going for that project that the presentation happens. So through you, Chair, to our CEO, legally, I mean, is that I mean, if we release the $300,000, I had understood that that would be for the entire project as it was presented, which would be 300 from the two other councils and you know, partnering agencies like the federal, provincial government and fundraising. So perhaps we could have some clarity if this amendment potentially is necessary or wise, or I guess necessary.
So I would recommend a couple of pieces to tighten up the motion. Number one, you know, if it's the desire of council, Mr. Chair, that the contribution from the District of Yarmouth be made to align with contributions at least at the other local government level, then council should specify that. But the other thing that's more important is that the motion clearly stipulates that the $300,000 over 3 years is for the project as proposed, pending total budget funding for the project. So what that would mean is, if the project, the total budget, I think, is somewhere around 2.8 million, if I'm not mistaken. And so if the motion specifies that the contribution from the District of Yarmouth only flows if the project is fully funded and goes ahead, then it really doesn't matter where it comes from, as long as it's fully funded, and no money would flow from the District of Yarmouth unless it is fully funded. So $2.5 million would have to be raised from other sources before the district would actually cut a check. Or
Deputy Ward,
confirmed.
you still have the floor.
So I'll move an amendment to my own motion if that's the case. Thank you for suggesting it, Daniel. So I'll move the addition to the main motion that the dollars would flow contingent on the project being fully funded as presented at our committee of the whole.
Yeah, motion, amendment to the main motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Any discussion on the amended motion on the floor?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, are you calling for discussion on the amendment or the amendment of the main motion?
I'm calling for discussion on the amendment.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, it sounds like I have a cold, but I'm getting over one, so I'm sorry if I did not make myself clear. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. All right, back to the main motion. Is there any more discussion on the main motion? Madam CEO?
Mr. Chair, if there's nothing further from the members of council, I would also like to suggest an amendment that the funding contribution begin in the fiscal year 2025-26, as it's unplanned for this year.
Someone willing to make that a motion? So you're amending the main motion that it, Councillor Allen?
So I'm making an amendment to the motion that the funds come from 25-26.
Okay, a motion on the floor to amend.
Beginning.
Beginning on 25-26. Is a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Any discussion on the amendment on the main motion? I will say this, you're only allowed 2 amendments on one main motion. So, just to be clear to everyone. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Back to the main motion. Any more discussion on the main motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. For anyone out there watching, when you make amendments on a motion, you're only allowed 2 amendments on a main motion. Any more is not allowed as per Robert rules. And I think that's the first time since I've been chair that we've ever done 2 amendments on one motion. Did we?
We've been doing them a lot lately.
I remember tabling a lot of motions.
The next one.
Isn't that funny? The very next one, yeah. All right, I stand corrected. Item 8.1.2, 2024 Counselor Code of Conduct. Now, you all have that in your package, and just a reminder, whoever moves this forward to regular council for discussion, what I'm looking for is the amended motion. I'm not looking for the amendment itself or the main motion. I'm looking for the amended motion, just to be clear to everyone. Deputy Warden?
I'll move that the municipality district of Yarmouth accept the draft 2024 Councillor Code of Conduct, including Appendix C and B, investigations and sanctions respectively. Period.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? I seen Councillor Lauren Cushion put his hand up before I heard Councillor Nick Hilton. So Councillor Lauren Cushion. Any discussion on that motion? Councillor Patty Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and just we need to thank the group of people from NSFM that worked so diligently to bring this forward. It's been a long time in the making. What I want to, through you to our CAO, I just want to confirm that the recommendations that came from the committee have just completely been integrated into our own possible code of conduct.
So thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to Councillor Durkee. So at the committee of the whole meeting, what we walked through was taking the templated code of conduct, investigation procedure, and sanctions that were recommended by the province, and then we brought back in any elements that were in the municipality's existing code of conduct that weren't part of the model, and combine them together for what is presented to council this evening for consideration.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? I forgot to note that Councillor Nick Hilton sat down for this motion that's currently on the floor. Okay. Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 8.1.4, letter to Mariner Center Board re-capital priorities. Councillor Daniel Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is there some confusion?
9.1.3, Mariner Center Board Direct, sorry, 8.1.3, Mariner Center Board Director's request.
I'd like to make a motion that the municipality approve the contribution to the Mariner Center capital priorities for $46,585 funded from the 2024-2025 capital projects budget.
Motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. Discussion? Councillor Allen, you still have the floor.
Oh, sorry.
Madam CEO?
Mr. Chair, it's not material to the motion necessarily. So the amount was set aside by council when the budget was developed, but it's not the municipality's capital projects budget. It's actually the municipality's contributions to other governments in the operating budget.
Councillor Allen?
So would you like to put that in the motion then? That'd be fine. It doesn't, if you want to amend that for me, thank you.
You have to make that, you have to,
A friendly amendment, please.
a friendly amendment, is that okay with the seconder?
Just for the record.
Yes. All right, we are getting close to the end of this term, so. So that was a quote-unquote friendly amendment. Typically, they're not allowed, but I don't run my meetings that hard, so. All right, is there any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 8.1.4, letter to the Mariner Center Board re-capital priorities. Councillor Sherry Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth send a letter to the Mariner Center Management Board inquiring as to why the capital priorities ask is 6 months past due under the intermunicipal agreement. And I'm going to add a reply within 2 months, please.
You made the motion,
Yep.
seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 8.1.5, Mariner Center expansion conditional grant for contingency. Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
Right, I'll move the municipality district of Yarmouth approve up to $630,000, which is 38.67% of $1,630,000 as a conditional contingency funding grant for the Mariner Center expansion project in the event tender bids exceed a 10% estimate overrun.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Discussion. I guess my question to the CEO would be, this is only a contingency. It's not actually, it's only committed only if there's cost overruns, correct?
And on the tender pricing, Mr. Chair.
And on the tender pricing, correct. Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. All right, there was another one in there. Councillor Nick Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will move that the municipality and district of Yarmouth approve up to $773,200 in temporary lending to support cash flow during construction of the Mariner Center expansion project.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Patty Durkee. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 8.1.6, Good Neighbor Bylaw Update. Councillor Nick Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is one of those amended motions. I'll move that the municipality and district of Yarmouth have staff explore that while drafting the Good Neighbor bylaw for alternative name, that a section be added specific to animals outside of the fence arbitration legislation and a section for different avenues for resolution, and that these additions be done in early phase 2 as an amendment to the bylaw.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Discussion? I don't believe this was an amended, a two-time amended, because there was one motion and then there was an amendment on it, and what you have there is what the, was there two? All right, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 8.1.7, October regular council meeting date. Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
All right, I'll move the municipality district of Yarmouth hold their October regular council meeting on October 3rd, 2024 at 5 p.m.
A motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Discussion? Deputy Warden, you still have the floor.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this will be our last council meeting of this group, and just, oh,
No, that October 3rd meeting would be the last one.
this October 3rd one is the last one, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm batting 1,000 a night. In any event, yeah, I'd like to just, before we pass a motion, thank everybody for the productive 4 years we've had together. I mean, we've gotten a lot done and had a lot of fulsome debate, I'll say that, and it's been a good ride. So looking forward to the next 4 years being very, very similar. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Deputy Warden, can you read the next two?
Sure. Yeah. Right, so we'll move on to 8.1.8. And thank you. It's a private road name request. What's the will of council? Oh, sorry. Councillor Hilton.
I'll move that the municipality and district of Yarmouth accept the private road name of Lake Fanning Road as the desired name for PID 901-2029 of the Perry Road in Carlton.
Thank you, Councillor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Cushion seconds the motion. Any further discussion?
Here, Mr. Chair.
Yes, or CAO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to clarify a nuance in the language, so the new road will not be that PID. The PID 901-2029 is being subdivided, and a road will be created out of that. So I think that the motion should read, as a result of the subdivision on PID 901-2029.
Friendly amendment. I was thinking that very thing. So you're fine, Councillor Hilton? And seconder's fine. Everybody's happy. So yeah, friendly amendment stands. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. And other Councillor Cunningham, Warden Cunningham, take the chair.
You forgot your sheet. Almost feels like the Bob Newhart show sometime. My other brother Larry. All right, where did we leave off? Item 819. Item 819, draft dynamic speed display sign policy D-0140-18. The draft dynamic speed display sign policy D-0140-18. One of those days, is it? Someone had turned off their mic. Councillor Nick Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll move that municipality and district of Yarmouth accept the amendments to the dynamic speed display sign policy D-0140-18.
A motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Sherry Hurlbert. Councillor Hilton, you still have the floor.
Yeah, because I think I was still trying to see if we needed to include the amendments so they also include individuals can request the DSDS sign location subject to all other policy requirements. Friendly amendment.
Is that all right with the seconder then?
So I think that when we talk about the amendments, we're just saying that the the amendment to the policy that's in front of us. So it's not an amendment to this motion, it's just to make sure that the policy is amended to include that individuals can request, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
Any discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Nay. Vote is 6-1. Motion's carried. Please record my name. Item 8.1.10, letter to the province re short-term rental enforcement.
Mr. Chair, may I speak to that before a motion is put
You
on the
may
floor?
certainly do so.
It may impact the business of council. So since the last committee, of the whole meeting, staff have been having conversations and participating in calls with the province of Nova Scotia regarding the short-term registration provisions. And we do have an email in writing indicating that the province is interested in extending the deadline for short-term rental operators who had been registered under the old framework into at least the end of December and quite possibly into early 2025 in order to allow municipalities to work with those owners to deal with the land use planning dynamics. So I'm not sure that it's actually necessary for council to write the letter because I believe the province is working collaboratively with municipalities on this issue.
Councillor Patty Durkee.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to our CAO and to staff who have been working very closely with the province to help hold off the enforcement until both province and the municipality of the District of Yarmouth straighten out some issues that we had with regards to bylaw enforcement. Last night we had a PAC meeting, and it looks like the decision that was made to have no restrictions in specific areas will be going to a public meeting to discuss that before it comes to council. Thank you.
I do have one question. Is there any timeline in regards to that next meeting, which would involve the public in that regards to that recommendation?
So, Mr. Chair, the public participation meeting policy doesn't set out timelines after the PAC directs staff to undertake those meetings, but we did have a conversation about it at the staff level, and it will be before the end of October.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that it didn't get lost. Councillor Nick Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and yeah, that was talked about a lot last night, was the timeline and making sure that we do this is fairly quick as we can, because we have to do public hearing now. Second reading, come to council, first reading, public hearing, second reading, so we want to make sure that we're doing this, I think, in a timely manner. And I do believe that last night's recommendation solved a lot of the problems, but there is still one outstanding issue that if we're not writing the letter, maybe staff can take. I don't know if you have further meetings with the province, but for me, it's the residents that aren't on Airbnb currently and are looking to register. They can't register from now until this is dealt with. So we have some people that have new Airbnbs that are being told they can't register without that letter. I'm not sure if the government is providing them any opportunity to do that. So I'm not sure if they can be at least talked about at the provincial level if you're there.
Mr. Chair, so through you to Councillor Hilton, we can absolutely raise that. My understanding is that, you know, the province is most interested in working with operators who were registered and were compliant with legislation prior to this new wave, but we will raise that issue and see if there's a mechanism to continue to support the economic development.
Thanks.
Madam CEO, you mentioned in regards to the deadline was going to be, when was it you said the province was looking to extend the deadline to?
The current conversation is somewhere around December 31st, 2024, but the question has been asked about how that deadline would fall in relation to each municipality's current work on the planning side of things. And so the municipality of Yarmouth indicated to the province this week that because of the municipal election, really, municipalities are losing 45 days of standard cycles, and so December 31st would be quite short, and it'd be preferable if it was end of January or February 2025.
Yeah, that was my concern as well, because it's not that council stops working, but with an election coming up in the middle of October, that's going to set a little bit of a delay in the timeline, which we would normally take, as you mentioned, 45 days. So just making sure that this is being dealt with in a timely manner and that we have time to get it done. Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's really unfortunate that this has been a very frustrating process for local folks who are running Airbnbs, because not only has there been letters needed from the municipality, but letters also need to go actually from the province, and the CAO and I had that discussion earlier, that the Airbnb companies and VRBO companies themselves are asking for letters, which the province will actually have to do. So we talked about how we could get it across to the province, and they also need to be in touch with the owners of these companies, letting them know that there are delays.
So we do have a recommendation from the Committee of the Whole. This is a regular council. We can, I guess this is a question of process to the CEO. If council does not bring this forward, where does this motion that was made from a recommendation from the committee, where does it go?
Because it's a recommendation from Committee of the Whole, rather than have the minutes be silent on it, I would recommend that council defer its option to correspond with the council regarding this issue until a later date if necessary.
Okay, moved by Councillor Patty Durkee. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. So I do have one quick comment. So the word of a later date, that is just open-ended, because it very well may not need to be dealt with, so, all right. Rather than putting a timeline on it. All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 8.1.11, Parkland Dedication, 8.1.11.1, file 9986. You have that in your package. Councillor Sherry Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth accept $800, equivalent to 5% of the market value of Lot J-1 as parkland dedication on PID 90296989, file 9986.
Motion on the floor, seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 8.1.11.2, file 9973. Deputy Warden?
Oh, sorry, yeah. I'll move that the municipality of District of Yarmouth request $30,000, which is 5% of the market value of lots SL1 to SI 12, or is that L? Sorry, one's uppercase and one's lowercase. Are those both L's?
Yes.
They're both L's, yeah. SL1 to SL12 is parkland dedication on PID 903-19435, file 9973.
Motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Patty Durkee. Discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 8.2, first reading of the tax exemption bylaw. CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the amendments to the tax exemption bylaw were brought about as a result of the terms and conditions on the purchase and sale agreement of the Port Maitland Fog Alarm Building. And in addition, there were a couple of other amendments striking former exemptions for properties that are actually now owned by the municipality of the District of Yarmouth and therefore not subject to taxation of ourselves to ourselves.
Councillor Nick Hilton.
Thank you. So is this first reading or just move the amendments to text bylaw T-082-24?
Mr. Chair, first
No.
reading.
No, this is for first reading.
So move to second reading or to public hearing?
Move to approve first reading.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I'll move to approve first reading of tax exemption bylaw T-082-24.
Motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes,
could.
Madam CEO.
So there's no public hearing required on this, so there will be second reading at the next regular council meeting.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. I know the question you're asking, is it 14 days?
Yeah, it's not quite, so it'll be,
It will be on the next council's, the new council's
The-
agenda.
their
the
first meeting.
regular-
Yeah,
Regular meeting. Okay, because it's 14 days.
it's be 14 clear days. So that doesn't include weekends.
Correct. Item 8.3, transient vendors permit. Councillor Durkee.
Thank you,
The
Mr.
floor.
Chair. I had a great discussion with our CAO about transient vendors. So for an example, a transient vendor is someone who would like to establish a food truck. And at present, with the permits, they would have to reapply for a permit every 30 days. And which means they have to go through licensing, which quite frankly would be quite challenging. So I'd like to make a motion, please, that we direct staff to look into extending permits for transient vendors for a longer period of time rather than just 30 days.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Nick Hilton. Discussion. Councillor Durkee, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What that would mean is there are those who would like to set up food trucks in the municipality of the District of Yarmouth, particularly during the summer season. In fact, there was someone I met while I was out campaigning about possibly setting something up in Port Maitland. But as the permit stands now, there's a lot of red tape that if we could change that, it would be very beneficial to them, or anybody else for that matter.
This motion that's on the floor is only to investigate. It's not to make any recommendations.
That's correct.
I'd like to hear from the permanent business owners as well in regards to that. So, yeah, I have no trouble with approving the motion as it stands to do some investigation, because if we don't do investigation, we won't know. Councillor Nick Hilton, your microphone has been on for a bit. I don't know if you wanted to speak? No? Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
Yeah, I guess my stance is very similar to yours, Warden, in that the investigation is a good thing to look into it more, but my recollection is it's kind of defined as transient. They're there, and I think part of the rationale for having the time limit on it was that we didn't want folks coming in and setting up like a car dealership on the side of the road and selling cars and you know, coming in and sort of hurting our regular businesses like the car dealerships and those types of things. So because obviously somebody on the side of the road is not paying property tax. So in the event, yeah, I mean, we can look into those and staff will bring back their findings.
No, absolutely. Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your valid points. This is in particular, this particular motion would be in relation to food trucks. So if I have to amend the motion, I would do that. Or any, like...
No,
food-
I don't believe
that
so.
okay?
I fully understood what you meant when I made the comment. so.
Okay. Thanks.
Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing, sorry. I didn't see that red microphone flashing in front of that pink shirt.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Mr. Warden. I can understand where Councillor Durkee is coming from about extending it more than 30 days, but however, in the present permits, does it state anywhere that if they're not following proper guidelines and whatnot, that they won't be able to set up again, or they have to move or something like this, or? Because I'm kind of afraid of, the health part of it or the safety part of it.
Madam CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the current bylaw, there's a whole section on revocation. So even under the current framework, there are instances, Mr. Chair, through you, Councillor Cushing, where a license could be revoked
Okay.
and not renewed. And of course, I think as I understand the motion, we're going to undertake a body of research and bring back some information for council. So it's not even a motion to make a specific amendment at this point.
Yeah, it's just to do research.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9, correspondence, 9.1 for action, 9.1.1, the GRAP. Here we go again. Like the deputy warden said, I seem to be batting 1,000 on this. The grant application. For review. I'm not going to say that, and that's the reason why I stopped it. I'm sorry, it's in French, and I apologize to everyone. I don't want to butcher up what's written here. It's regards to a grant application for a Nouvelle cost. That I will say. Madam CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I have a few pieces of additional information that might help inform council's conversation this evening. So it was unclear to staff if this should be processed as a late application in the 2024-25 fiscal year or an early application for the 25-26 fiscal year. We understand from the organizers that the event obviously is going to take place in the calendar year 2025, but there are expenses that are being incurred now to prepare for the games. So the organizers would be able to manage cash flow if it's the will of council that would award some monies in this fiscal year out of the contingency and some monies pre-awarded for next fiscal year. Currently available out of the $10,000 contingency is $5,800. I can also confirm, Mr. Chair, that on page 6 of the application, the amount of money from the municipality of Argyle, $15,000, is confirmed. The amount of money from the province and from the town of Yarmouth is not confirmed.
Councillor Daniel Allen.
So they could use the cash, it's more of an ASAP thing for some cash flow through you to our CAO?
It's my understanding that certain contracts will have to be signed with vendors and deposits will have to be made.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve this grant and allow $2,000 to come out of our contingency now to flow to this organization, and the extra $1,000 to be approved on our next grant cycle.
For the 2024-2025 grant cycle, correct?
Sure.
25-26.
Right.
Okay, motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham. Discussion? Councillor Allen, you still have the floor.
Nope.
Councillor Nick Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and this council's been really good about supporting local events. We know that it brings brings in families, friends, and visitors to the area. So it's kind of a no-brainer that we continue to support our community and neighboring communities. I guess my question is, should we be approving the 3,000 now with the idea that they're probably going to put a grant application in next year? Is this is an annual thing? Is it always held in Argyle?
CEO?
I'm not given to expect that there would be an application for next fiscal. I did speak with the, Mr. Fraughton about this, and I asked, if council had an appetite and any contribution was spread over 2 fiscal years, would that be fine? And the answer was yes. There was no indication that there would be an additional ask in 25-26.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
So my understanding from the motion that was made by Councillor Allen was that we're going to be allotting $2,000 from the contingency of this budget year and $1,000 from the 25-26. In other words, pre-approved. Okay, so I am clear on what the motion was on the floor. Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.2, for information, there's 2 pieces of information, municipal alerts, FAQs, community-led Nova Scotia RCMP action plan. Hearing none? Councillor Nick Hilton?
Through you to the CAO, 9.22, the community-led action plan, RCMP action plan. Would that be a good discussion topic for PAC, and should we move that there for discussion?
Mr. Chair, through you to Councillor Hilton, I've actually already provided this material to your admin support on the Joint Police Advisory
Sorry.
Committee
Yeah.
and asked them to add that to correspondence for conversation.
Yeah, I think I said PAC, but you knew where I was going.
I did, yes, sir.
We all seem to be batting 1,000.
Yeah, no, today's a rough day.
It's contagious. Right, no more, moving on. CEO's report. You'll have that in your package. Councillor Sherry Hurlbert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lots of good information in here. It's that snapshot of everything that we're doing. I just want to point out one thing on page 2. Housing Nova Scotia will be providing a presentation on their financial. That sound is great. Sorry. For those who are watching online may not have noticed that there's a constant hum in the room due to the ventilation system, and it just turned off, so it's really quiet in here right now. So I'll start again. Housing Nova Scotia will be providing a presentation on their financial programs at the South Ohio Community Hall on October 23rd for the Lunch and Learn hosted by the Yarmouth County Senior Safety Program. But also the Senior Safety Program is providing a variety of lunch and learns at South Ohio. The Housing Nova Scotia Home Grant Repairs is one taking place on October 23rd. But for those of you who are watching online, October 16th, there's a continuing care and home care services. October 30th, there's a Joy of Aging. November 6th, there's funeral planning. And to do that, you can call the Senior Safety Coordinator or email her at ashley@munyarmouth.ca. They're great events that happen in our community and provide a wealth of information for people. Thanks.
Councillor Patty Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our CAO for the detailed report. I just want to comment about the one-time tax rebate. The last time we got together, we had only had 100 applications, and since there was a mail-out sent out, over 500 applications have been received. So I'm glad that we actually followed through with the mail-out, and I know I came in a couple of days and there were lineups at the wicket to process. So I'm glad that people actually took advantage of the rebate program for taxes.
Any more discussion on CAO's report? If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept the CAO's report as presented. Moved by Councillor Daniel Allen, seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion. No discussion? Hear none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion Carried unanimously. My, it's quiet in here. Item number 10.2, Warden's Report. I have no written Warden's Report, but there is a few things that's been going on, as you all know. The Congrès, the Acadian celebrations. My God, what an event. I've never been so busy in that week or two attending different events from the grand opening up in University St. Anne to the closing ceremonies in Wedgeport to all the concerts and the family reunions, and just the amount of people that was in the area was phenomenal. And the Tantrum Mart on Main Street. That was very unique. I don't remember a time when all federal leaders, both of the governing party and the opposition, one of the opposition parties, also the leader of the Premier of Nova Scotia and the opposition leader of Nova Scotia, and all municipal leaders were all within a very small area on Main Street. I think that's the first for Canada. I really do believe that. And it just goes to show of the hospitality that everyone has brought forward to everyone from not only North America, but there's also people here from around the world in France. Also like to thank staff for setting up our booth in the Mariner Center. It was a lot of fun, the kitchen party. If some of you were there, I brought along a little friend of mine. His name is Jethro. He's my puppy, and our theme was a kitchen party. And what's better to have a puppy and your pets in a kitchen party? But I did bring him. He was well received, and thank you very much, staff from the municipality of Yarmouth and also the town of Yarmouth for setting up that booth. That was a lot of fun. It's going to be hard to beat. And also the next week we had the Wedgeport Tuna Festival, which was going on. So there was a lot going on in the month of August, and I was certainly kept run ragged over the past little bit, and I haven't stopped. Today the Provincial Volunteer Awards were being held in Truro, and I can't remember our nominee. What was her name? Wanda Doucette. She was up there with Frank Grant. And also on the 25th in the Mariner Center at 6:30, we're going to have our local volunteer recognition awards. If you all, I believe all councillors have received an invite, but I also believe it's open to the public to support and thank all the volunteers in our community that makes this whole area work. We have one of the most tremendous bases of volunteers, I think, in Canada, with being able to pull off the events like I just talked about. A lot of thanks needs to be helped. A lot of volunteers don't want to be recognized, but I think it's a small token of everyone's appreciation if you show up and thank them for the service to their community. And also on October the 7th coming up, the Perrenbaugh track opening is happening at the Perrenbaugh School in Tuscott. That's something that we collaborated with the Municipality District of Argyle. So that grand opening is happening at 1 o'clock at the Perrenbaugh School, which is just off from Tuscott Ford, exit 7, I believe it is. So that's my report. I could go on, but I'm sure you don't want to hear me speak anymore. But thank you, everyone. And just one last final note, as was mentioned earlier, this is our second to last meeting. Our last meeting will be held on October the 3rd at 5 p.m. And that's going to be a hybrid meeting, a committee of the whole / regular council meeting. I don't know if I should have called it a hybrid, but it's a blended meeting. So that's my report. Item 10.3, dangerous and unsightly report and FYI. Item 10.4, legal entities. There's some written submissions in there. Is there any verbal? Councillor Nick Hilton, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just update on the Mariner Center Expansion Board that the tender's gone out on the project and we're awaiting bids, and we're hoping to have multiple bids to drive down the price. And it's really an exciting time for our region. First time we're going to build a significant building in over 25 years, or almost 25 years. So really looking forward to breaking ground on that, possibly as early as November, depending on the prices. So new pool, new walking track, indoor walking track, and new recreation area. So that's been a long time coming. So that's exciting. Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission, Councillor Cunningham and Councillor Cushing both sit there with me, and I have to say the last 4 years have been very productive in creating the two, or working with Nova Scotia Health to create the two collaborative clinics at Harbour South and the satellite clinic in Argyle. Seeing those, seeing the multiple appointments being created there that were being underutilized before for people in need of health care. We continue to work on creating a separate port entity to help fund the repairs to the waterfront, to our wharves that are in much need of repair. So really looking forward to what the next 4 years could bring there, and hopefully bringing some infrastructure money back here to town.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Patty Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a report on Yarmouth and Acadian Shores. We just had a meeting. A couple of great news items is that the passengers on the ferry this year are at 47,000 people, which is an increase of 21%. So that is very favorable. And just to note that Airbnb, when people come and stay at Airbnbs, they stay at an average of 3.5 days as compared to hotels which are 2 days. So the revenue for Airbnbs in the region was up 15%, which is about $2 million. And we do have a cruise ship that is coming in on October the 3rd. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other verbal reports? Up next, advisory. Item 10.3, the CAO committee. We're scheduled to meet. Our work is almost complete. We're scheduled to meet on October the 7th. 8th. I knew I would. There we go. We're still batting 1,000, Deputy Warden. Any other verbal reports? Councillor Patty Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to say that we just had a doctor recruitment and retention committee meeting today, and you know, I have to say it's been an absolute pleasure to chair that committee for the last 4 years, and the progress that we have made has been amazing. In our first term, we had 13 doctors come, and in the last 4 years there have been 43 doctors that have been recruited to the Yarmouth area. We did lose 5, so for a net of 35. And it just never ceases to amaze me that every time we have this meeting, there are a whole list of new doctors that are intending to come. So we have a pediatrician that will be starting in July of 2025. That person's partner is a surgeon, so there's a possibility that they will be working here. We have a cardiologist starting October 1st. We have a hospitalist site visit in October. We have a radiologist that just had an offer starting mid-November, and a family doc also has had an offer as of October 7th. We have an ophthalmologist that has accepted an offer. And we have some family medicine doctors coming for site visits. Some of our residents have actually bought houses in the area, and we've got a couple of new doctors, local residents that we're hoping that will stay in the area because they have relatives from here. In terms of the Harbour South Medical Clinic, we found out today that that should be opening in early October. And what's interesting is that they are also maintaining the primary care clinic in the hospital as well as the Harbour South Clinic, because we have enough providers to accommodate both of those buildings. So what can we say? We all agreed that it's been a pleasure to be on that committee, and we continue listening and hearing about new site visits from people. Oh, in addition, the Yarmouth has its own recruiter from the province now, which we didn't have before, and that's Rebecca Rose, who used to be our community navigator, and they will be working hand in hand. Just keep in mind for future, in the future, that even though we have our own recruiter, they are not responsible for any types of retention and settling people into the community, and that's where a community navigator plays a huge role, helping people find housing. Those who are immigrants need help with the banking scenario, finding bicycles, like all those different things are jobs that the community navigator does, as well as directing them to events and trying to help them adapt to our community. So thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Any more? Reports on advisory? Ad hoc, 10-6. Item 11, public comments. We have one sign up. Heather?
I don't really need to now, because my question's about Airbnb and the status of that has been handled to my satisfaction for now, so.
Thank you very much. Heather was the only one on here. We have 2 items in camera. I'd entertain a motion for a 5-minute recess before we start. Moved by Councillor Daniel Allen, seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion to go to recess for 5 minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thanks, everyone.